we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killin', pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reelin'. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another negative episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 452, recorded Sunday, December 3rd, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about a new release. It is Godzilla Minus One. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up, man?
What's going on, buddy? I'm surprised you're planning to be so negative today. It really doesn't seem like the movie for that, but
I know. +1. I'm glad those bumps still have some legs, so a little life in them.
You know that you can't beat Taco Bell advertising for reusability.
Can't do it.
Really good stuff.
It all ages.
Cool Godzilla cup holder.
It all ages.
Bob,
so
show me your
well,
cool Godzilla
doesn't
cup
it?
holder.
Here it is. Look
Yeah.
how cool it is. It's so cool.
Bob spent legal tender on that.
Oh, it was illegal, I promise you.
Oh, thank God.
Just print it up in the bathroom. Next up, calling in from Florida, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, konnichiwa. It's your boy Size Does Matter Stains. Here we go. Heading to the big
I
easy.
should have known. I should have known.
Godzilla's heading to the big easy. All right.
Oh, yeah. That's
In
New
New
Orleans.
Down where with the Creoles.
Yes.
Some jambalaya.
the famous
Watch a
Toho
Popeyes
production.
commercial next.
Yes.
Popeyes. God, no. All right, last but not least, making his first appearance on the show, our old-time friend, and some would say Godzilla scientist aficionado, Miles.
Scientist.
Welcome, Miles.
Scientist, yeah. Hello, thanks for having me on. I feel like a scientist might be a little
Professor
What's
of
your
all things
what was your
Godzilla.
thesis on?
right.
Heat print?
Yeah,
It was all about how size really does matter. That's
right,
what it was
exactly.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out it does. It does. in fact
75
matter.
page.
Turns out.
Was it on how Godzilla 98 is, in fact, the best Godzilla film? Is that what your thesis was about?
the fuck up!
Thank you, Randy. Yes,
Awesome. Thanks for-
after extensive research, yes, we found that Godzilla 98 is in fact the best one.
Yes,
Bob was,
I-
turns out Bob was
okay.
right all
Always-
the time.
I always knew it. I knew it all along.
Believer.
Maybe that'll change tonight. We'll see after the review.
We just lost all of our listeners. All the new Godzilla listeners.
That,
Lost them all.
that absolute bottom of the barrel credibility we had has been
Delete.
scraped clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
We ain't got nothing left now.
Japan just canceled Straight Chilling.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Miles, man. It's been a long time coming. You're pretty you've been listening to the show for a while and in our Slack channel for quite a while. We talk to you like every fucking day, basically. So it's really cool to have you on the show, man. It means a lot. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It'll be weird because normally I just yell at you guys when I'm listening to it in my car, but when you guys will actually respond, it's gonna be a little weird. So
69 dudes!
Right.
That's
yes.
what we're here for.
Well, yell as much as you want, man. Before we get into the main event, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. So this is a new month. It is now December. That means our November poll has officially closed, and Ulog did lock down the win.
Oh shit!
Whoa.
By how many? Not
Oh.
much, right? Because
It
I
was
know
like
there
one
was some,
or two votes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
there's some
barely.
skull fuckery at the end there.
Yeah, sure. I guess
That's
so.
close enough to the word skullduggery for me. I don't know about you guys. But
Yeah, it barely squeaked out the win, so we'll be talking about Ulog in a couple weeks. But we do have a brand new poll posted on our Patreon website. You can support us at the $5 level or above to get a chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this January. The theme for January is shit that we missed in 2023 because there's a lot of movies that we just didn't have time to get to. And because there were so many, this is a super double stuffed, mega packed poll. We got 6 movies you can vote on.
What? Then first
6.
time in straight chilling history.
Making
God,
history.
we can count higher.
Damn.
It's incredible.
There's more than 3 numbers?
I guess that means we're doing more than one movie, right? We got to
No.
be reviewing more.
No. Just one. Hell yeah. So the movies you can vote between are Mithrigan, No One Will Save You, Onyx, The Fortuitous, They Clone Tyrone, VHS 85, and When Evil Lurks.
Whoa, Bob, first week of December. How are those numbers looking? And last month of 2023. So long, shitty year for horror.
Yeah, extremely mediocre year for work. They're looking mighty fine. First place is When Evil Lurks with 40% of the vote. And then we got Mithrigan with 27%. And we got a dead heat between They Clone Tyrone and VHS 85 with 13%. No One Will Save You at 7%, and not a single vote for Onyx the Fortuitous.
Oh, poor
Damn,
Onyx.
poor-
That might not be a well-known film. That's
Yeah.
pretty-
It's not. It's hard to find. Like it's not
It's only on
most people. Even
Screenbox.
it's
Yeah.
only on Screenbox right now.
Yeah.
So like,
I will say though,
Unfortunately, that's a very
it's
new
a good
base.
watch. It's a fun watch.
Yeah, it's tight. Check it out
Mostly
if you have
bummed.
Screenbox, or watch movies other ways.
There's
know-
other
what?
ways.
You know what I'm
watch
saying.
movies.
You know,
Physical, more physical.
Not
ways,
endorsed,
right,
It
Bob?
by the
is.
way.
you can pre-order it on Blu-ray, and I think it comes out later this month, in a few weeks, like pretty soon, actually. I think before Christmas.
I'm sure that's what you meant.
Order that Blu-ray. Get your votes in for the end of the month. We'll see what we're talking about in January. Speaking of mini casts, we're dropping another mini cast this Friday. On the 8th of December, Justin recorded a nice little mini cast about a new release just hit Shudder this past Friday called It's a Wonderful Knife.
Yes.
You
That's
love
a
it?
new,
Dies tonight!
that's a
You
new
love it?
Christmas flick that was on Shudder, and it's really, I haven't heard of a lot of new Christmas horror films coming out this year. Last year we got 3 or 4, and then next year I know there's already some brewing, like Terrifier 3 and a couple other things. But for this year, this is the only one I kind of
There's another
no.
one
is a-
hitting Shudder, I think on the 8th actually, and it's
Okay.
called the something games. I'm blanking on the name.
Okay. Well, this one's got Justin Long in it, and as you could
Sacrifice Game.
probably tell,
Nailed it,
it's
yeah.
a spoof off of It's a Wonderful Life. Same
Oh.
kind of premise. But yeah, it's kind of like a slasher, Christmas slasher, pretty much.
I'm
Cool.
excited to check that one out. Honestly,
Yeah, so check that out.
The only thing I know about that one is the buzz on Justin Long's teeth. Something about his teeth. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
fake.
They're
I-
fake. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like Inspector Gadget, the film level fake.
He's-
Well, he's
for
got
He's-
like a
he's like-
fake tan. He's got like a fake tan going on. So I
He's just-
assume it's
yeah.
part of the character. But so yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
Justin's Long actual real teeth, right?
Justin's long. teeth?
Justin's
He's long in the
teeth.
tooth. Is that
he's
what-
a little
long
long in the
fake
tooth. We
teeth.
could say that.
It's yeah. They look like he's got dentures in or something. It's weird. It is
Okay.
distracting to me. But yeah, check that out. Dropping this Friday over on Patreon.
Cool.
That's oh wait, no. Big news.
Big
This
news.
is the last bit of Patreon news that we have. We're going to be reopening the You Pick the Flick tier for the first quarter of January. That means even if you've already chosen 2 movies this year, it's fair game. Anybody can sign up since it's a new year, new quarter, new year. We're opening
Well,
up
of course,
that.
here come the demons.
Here come the demons. We're opening up the You Pick the Flick tier Sunday, December 17th. Mark your calendars
Oh,
at an
my
undisclosed
God.
time of day.
It's resetting now, so anyone's fair game to pick this one up.
That's right. Even if you're one of the multi grabbers, the ones that always seem to be in the right place at the right
Elite.
time.
Miles, you
grab
got
Multi-grabbers.
the horse
your
race
fair share of you
tips.
picks in your day.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I haven't got one in a while, I think.
Oh,
What was your
really?
last one? I don't remember.
Alien 3, maybe?
Whoa,
that was this year though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
all
this
right.
year.
Yeah, that was earlier this year. Man, this
Nice.
there's what like 5 or 6 from you over the years at this point.
At
Is it
least,
more than
yeah.
that?
At least,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, is there more than that?
Yeah.
I don't know why I even wagered a
Heavyweight
guess. That was a dumb decision on my part.
Like 50 or 60? I don't know.
You know, it's somewhere between
Something,
5 and 77. That's what I'm guessing.
I
You
think
know-
I think the only person ahead of me who has more is maybe Hydraberg. I think that.
That's
Gotta
probably
be
true.
Heidelberg.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I
So
think
the
he's
rivalry's
still at the
pretty hot,
top.
obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only way for you guys to outright pick a movie for us to review on the show. There's only 5 spots available per quarter, and they do typically go pretty fast. So mark your calendar, Sunday, December 17th at an undisclosed time of day. You just got to check our Patreon website throughout the course of the day, and it'll be open. And if you see it open, grab a spot. That's
Why
it.
can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
Give me a goddamn second.
That was live
That's-
recording of people reacting to the last drop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got for Patreon. Do you guys have anything you need to plug?
I do. So next Monday, I kind of talked about this. I wasn't sure exactly when it was going to drop, but I've got it all ready to go now. So next Monday, December 11th, we are going to be dropping a new Creature Comforts episode on YouTube. That's where we cover a horror adjacent film. And this month, I'm going to be covering Eyes Wide Shut with Caitlin from Plug It Up for our Christmas horror adjacent film. So yeah, that'll be going up on Monday on exclusively on our YouTube page, so you can check it out there.
Horny.
We're tubing it. We're tubing
Yeah.
it these days, people.
Tube in it, but
Part
yeah,
of that
that's
unholy cesspool that is YouTube.
yes.
Tight.
Podcasting is so much cleaner.
Oh my God, this is the righteous path. I think we can all agree.
But yeah, that's on my housekeeping.
Oh,
right.
Randy?
No, not a thing.
All right.
If you're clean, then I'm clean. Here we go.
I'm squeaky.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Godzilla Minus One, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, when are you going to pre-order this box?
As soon as I can.
All right.
You can't yet, but I'm sure it's a matter of days. It's coming around the corner.
All right.
Godzilla Minus One, brand new movie, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 4 minutes. This was written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki. Stars Manami Hamabi, Sakura Ando, and that's all I'm gonna try.
Oh,
Nailed it.
Bob's pitch is increasing as he speaks.
Wow. And a whole host of beautiful, wonderfully talented actors that kick a lot of ass, and I'm not going to butcher their names for you. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. Post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. Brand new movie, first time watch for all of us. Gentlemen, would you recommend folks check out Godzilla Minus One? Miles, why don't you kick us off, man?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. And not just to Godzilla or kaiju fans. I think, this is a solid film. I think it's a solid movie. I'd strong recommend for me.
Right on. Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say this has got a lot of crossover potential. I think kind of all ages sort of movie ultimately for the most part. And yeah, definitely going to satisfy a wide gamut of people. I think this one's just ready made to be made a big deal out of. So go get in there while it's hot.
Get in there. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. I think this is a very accessible Godzilla film, and not in the way that like the King of Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong and stuff is. It's more of kind of like a war movie, and then Godzilla's there too. or like a historical war movie. So yeah, I think it's just like a quality type of film. It's not going to be for everybody, because maybe some people will be coming in there thinking it might be more like a Kong versus, it's not an action type movie, but I do.
Fools.
Yeah, but yeah. It's not, it's not for the Marvel fans out there. No, just
I don't know, man. I think it
I'm
might get
just-
some of those people.
Yeah,
I'm just
joking.
fucking around.
Yeah.
I
There's
think
some action in
I
it.
think a lot of different people will like this film.
Yeah.
So
We'll get
yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah, this is a pretty hearty recommend from me. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like Miles said, just generally speaking, it's a really well put together movie. I think if you're just a fan of cinema, you're probably going to get something out of this. So check it out. Go to the theater too. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
movie. Like watch it
I
on the
did,
biggest
yeah.
screen you can find.
Mhm.
Definitely a solid recommendation across the board here at Straight Chilling. Sounds like it. So check it out. And we are going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie. And here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, do you have that plot
Plop it on us.
synopsis?
I got it. I got
All
it
right.
plopped
It's a little
up right here.
complicated.
These names, man, I might.
Rob,
I
do you
might trip me up.
recognize these places in Tokyo? I want you to specifically
Yes.
mention all the places you recognize.
I went to all of them, and I know.
Oh my God, I've seen that Rebel
exactly
before.
Where they are.
Oh, yeah.
Pile Rebel, yeah. I know that. I recognize that anywhere. All right, yeah. Here's the synopsis for Godzilla Minus One. In 1945, nearing the end of World War II, kamikaze pilot Shikishima claims to have issues with his aircraft. He lands on Odo Island for repairs, but mechanics don't find any issues with his plane. Lead mechanic Tachibana insinuates he knows there's no issues and that he fled the war intentionally. Soon after, a large dinosaur-like creature, Godzilla, emerges from the water and kills everybody on the island except for Shikishima and Tachibana. Tachibana blames Shikishima for the deaths because he froze up when he had the chance to shoot the giant creature. Jump forward to 1947, Shikishima has returned to Tokyo to find his parents and several other folks have been killed during the bombing of Tokyo. He starts a relationship with Noriko, and they adopt a child named Akiko, whose parents also died during the war. Shikishima finds work on a minesweeper and makes friends with the whole crew, one of which is a former naval weapons designer, which comes into play a little bit later. Godzilla is then mutated and enlarged by United States nuclear testing. It destroys several ships, and the minesweeper is tasked with stalling Godzilla's approach of Japan so their larger warships can arrive and attempt to kill the creature. The minesweeper detonates a mine in Godzilla's mouth, but he regenerates and ultimately destroys their larger Navy ships when they arrive with his heat ray. After living with Noriko for 2 years, Shikishima finally shares his war experience and survivor's guilt with her. The following day, Godzilla makes landfall in Ginza and destroys the city, leaving Shikishima to believe Noriko is dead. After the attack, the former naval weapons designer proposes a plan to kill Godzilla, involving wrapping a cable around him strapped with Freon canisters that will be ruptured, lowering the buoyancy of the water and dropping him about 1,500 meters, and ideally crushing him under the weight of the ocean. If that fails, Plan B involves large balloons also strapped to the cable, which they'll inflate, causing him to shoot up to the water surface, resulting in death by rapid decompression. Shikishima also gets the plane mechanic Tachibana to repair an old warplane so he can load it with bombs and fly it into Godzilla's mouth as a failsafe. The plan is implemented and Godzilla is dropped to the ocean floor, but he doesn't die. They inflate the balloons, and before he breaches the water surface, he chews through the balloons. Several ships manage to pull an injured Godzilla up out of the water. He begins charging up his heat ray, and as he opens his mouth, Shikishima flies his kamikaze plane into his mouth and blows Godzilla's head clean off. Luckily, Tachibana installed an ejection seat, and Shikishima parachutes safely back to his friends. And out back on the dock, he receives a telegram saying that Noriko has ultimately survived the attack. He and Akiko are then reunited with her at a hospital, and the movie ends with a close-up of Noriko's neck, revealing some sort of potential radiation sickness that resembles Godzilla's kind of rough skin. And then we also see Godzilla's heart deep in the ocean still beating. Roll credits. There you go. Yeah, that score is incredible.
Super fun, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. It's good shit.
They do it sparsely, which is always appreciated because
I mean, like
you know,
the whole score, like throughout the
yeah.
entire movie, is incredible. But yeah, that like
Right.
that main cue was like from the original Godzilla,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The original Ifukube theme. Yeah. They hit at the exact perfect moment.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So
Good
we
shit.
finally got us another Godzilla movie that takes itself deadly serious, and I am, for one, very excited about this. It seems like everybody was kind of hungering for that, at least if the reaction to this movie is any indication. I don't know, like I'm still like processing. I saw it earlier today. Like, where are you guys at with it?
Same. Saw it a few hours ago. So yeah, still
I
chewing
saw
on
it
it.
yesterday, so I
But
got a good beat on it.
Miles, you're sort of like an OG, I guess, an OG Godzilla fan. You've been like a lifelong Godzilla fan, whereas like I think the three of us are kind of new to it a bit.
Mhm.
How did this new movie land with you?
I mean, I would say, and this might be recency bias, I don't know if it's the best Godzilla movie ever made, but it's definitely either 2 or 3. I think when I looked at my like rankings, I'd probably place this like right after the original. And I still got, it's been a couple of years since I've watched the original. I'd have to go back and revisit it. So I don't know if it would surpass that one, but it's up there. It's up there. I really love what they're doing with the franchise right now, at least Toho, where years before, like they would come out with a, when they would reboot the franchise, it would be really successful, and then when they would just keep driving it into the ground as every year, sequel until it's just diminishing returns. And what Toho is doing now is they came out with Shin Godzilla. It was a great, huge success in Japan, and they could have just had, endless sequels, pumped one out the next year. But they didn't do that. They waited until somebody had a good idea, had the right director, right story, and came out, and it hit again. It was great. I mean, I love Shin Godzilla. I love this one. I love what they're doing, where they're just kind of taking their time. Let's drop one every 6-7 years and just make it sure it's quality.
Yeah, I mean, they can trust Hollywood to keep the name in the press the rest of the time.
Well, that's the thing about it. I mean, I liked Shin Godzilla when it came out too, and that was 17, right? 2017
or 16, 17 or 16, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, we've had 2 or 3 movies with him in it, and then they also, I remember maybe around 18 or 19, there was that animation that was on Netflix maybe, where it was like some kind of space thing going on, and Godzilla was like fucking ginormous. I watched like the first season of that. I don't remember much about it, but
I don't remember that at all.
But anyway, I think I did a mini cast on it, but he's been around, and that's the kind of cool thing about Godzilla is that, even though we got Shin Godzilla, we just come right back into another story that has nothing to do with that whatsoever, and it works perfectly fine. And you kind of never know. He works both as a villainous thing, a problem to overcome, a disaster, and then sometimes he works as this kind of like heroic thing, and people love that shit too. It's wild what they're able to do with that, and I think more film franchises at least should be like recognize elements of this and try to pull some of that off. I mean, because you don't need an origin story. We got that new Batman movie that came out last year, and they kind of did the same thing, where it's like, oh, this is Batman. Like, you don't always need to just like drive this trilogy or drive this like same story going.
That's just like the common logic in Hollywood to like,
sure, it's easy. I get it. Yeah,
with a Godzilla or a Batman, like these are such like iconic properties that belong to so many different iconic pieces of media that they can't really be tied to one on a permanent basis. Like, you could like Batman's been iconic 100 times over in America and beyond, and Godzilla, and certainly in Japan and abroad, has kind of had a similar thing. It's disassociated almost to the point of being a mascot for so many years, literally, that you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want with it. You could make a Godzilla comedy. You sure shit could. Like, you can make. They've made multiple Saturday morning cartoon
Tammy
shows.
and the T-Rex.
You could do a raunchy sex comedy with Godzilla. Godzilla U.
Size does matter.
Goes to college. Yeah,
Please,
that's the one.
That.
You know it exists
in your face.
Peanuts in your face. It's out there. So, something I really liked about this one, and I haven't seen every Godzilla movie made by any means, but I really liked that this was a period piece set in the 40s, and it like very like directly touches on and references World War II in a way that seems, I think a lot of other Godzilla movies dance around a little more or just don't really address at all in any way. But this is it's just about that. And I appreciate like how direct they were in it. And I thought they did a really good job at like showing, I assume, how things looked in the 40s, like with the clothing and like the style of it. And even the sort of like the filmic look of the movie. It had this like kind of saturated, like earthy tone to it, and I just really like all of the aesthetic choices they made. I thought they all like really enhanced the time period piece of it
I
all.
agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I liked it a lot too.
I mean,
Yeah, even like the small kind of Tokyo coming up, just
Mhm.
the house that he builds and where the kind of normal people live, which is crazy to think of, Tokyo as the metropolis that it is now, and to
Yeah.
think it was less than 100 years ago that people
yeah.
were living in houses like that. That's beautiful. It's fantastic. I love to see shit like
You
that.
know, I honestly think that like in on the American side of things, like we're on state side, like we have just there were many years there where because it was a result of war, things that we fucking did, as Americans or whatever, like it was almost like something you just didn't talk about or like you couldn't talk about in a movie that was a silly monster movie, not directly. Um, and Godzilla sort of like managed to get around that in America, and this one just kind of like hits it because I think America's like in a place where it can reckon with something that happened that long ago finally, like where it can be intertwined, it seems like it's very much coming from the perspective like top to bottom this isn't a Japanese movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is speaking to the experience of being a Japanese person at that time. It's clearly speaking to stuff that none of us have lived experience in, so it's almost in a way educational to feeling to me, and I don't know that I can back that up except it just feels so authentic in its depiction of post-war Japan that I kind of feel like I'm like getting to immerse myself in that, even though it's also a crazy monster movie with fucking uh heat rays and shit. Like I love that. There's something like really great about the authenticity in this movie is I guess what I'm driving at.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on like the political climate in Japan by any means, but I it feels like they're at a point now as a country where they can make a movie like this where it's not uh, this movie's not, from my reading of it, very pro-military. They're very critical of the military, and it's very much a movie about the people and how the government failed them. And
Yeah.
I think I don't, as far as my understanding, that doesn't seem like it was as possible or would have been as popular to make, years ago. But yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Well, they kind
Well,
of like
yeah.
talk about that a little bit too in the movie. In the text of the movie, they talk about the Japanese government post-war as being sort of big brotherish and like
Hmm.
being very like and having been for a long time up to that point controlling what people can see, what people can talk about, just like mind control sort of shit. And so like this movie is actively pointing at that, and it's only really able to do that because Godzilla was able to subversively sneak sort of these themes in,
Hmm.
these like post-war themes, without like looking at camera and saying like I have PTSD from fucking being a kamikaze pilot or whatever. Like
Well, honestly, so in the way that we saw Shin Godzilla almost like kind of return to basics, I see this as a sequel in theme in a way, as it's like Shin Godzilla was more of like, what if the kind of more like, what if the original Godzilla was kind of made now? Because we saw a lot of meetings, we saw a lot of Japanese red tape, whereas,
mhm.
but still with the original, we talked about it when we covered the original Godzilla and other ones we've talked about, where the kind of subtext is the kind of implication of the American effect on Japan based on dropping atomic bombs, whereas this one actually takes, in my opinion, like took a different approach where it was more addressing the not the red tape of the problems of Japan, but the cultural ideas that were presented at the time of
Mhm.
you die with honor, and if you don't, die with honor. Like your neighbors blame you. Even
You-
even the one mechanic saying we need more people like you. You know, one
Mhm.
mechanic blames him. The other mechanic says something like, we need more people like you, because we all know that this is ridiculous. And but as a culture, we're not allowed to say that. We're like, you know, we are submissive to authority, and even our neighbors, you know, will blame us for their kids dying if we don't blow ourselves up in planes. And so I thought it was a nice kind of inversion of what a lot of the Godzillas have done, especially the first one, where it's not about America being the villain. It's almost like Japan being the villain. Japanese thought and culture and authority at the time.
Well, I think it's kind of been both, but like the thing is, like for me, the best Godzilla movies for my money are the ones that have political undertones, and this one definitely has overtones that are political, as did Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, like to your point, was totally about like the breakdown of modern society in Japan, like the crisis response failures. It was a Doctor Strangelove of Godzilla movies, just without the comedy part of that. And like for that, I really loved it. I thought it was fucking fascinating that they would go that route. But this one just makes it like a true, honest to God hero's journey tale, like an odyssey, while also telling a very intense story about exactly what you said, like the idea of honor and like sacrifice and all those sort of things. In the end, like it's there, nobody is like being hyper individualistic at the end. That's not what success looks like for this team. What it looks like is a community rising together, banding together, and becoming, you know, cogs in a more efficient, a more specific squad that works towards goals that are beneficial to them. And I think that's like that's the ultimate functioning government, is when you can do that. And so like it critiques and offers sort of like what it could look like without it becoming like the American ideal of hyper individualization. So I think I love all that about it. I think it's really interesting.
I thought it was really something I never really considered, and I don't know how many Americans would, is like if you had been a kamikaze pilot that survived the war, that would be shameful. Like the idea that you are alive is shameful. That you survived the war is like bad. It's just like, so how damning is that? You know, like you just at a certain point, I imagine, would stop telling people you were ever a kamikaze pilot. But that's like an interesting thing that he has to wear, and then dealing with his survivor's guilt on top of that, like the shame that everybody's heaping on him because he saw all of his friends die and he's just unable to do anything. It's just like really interesting, and that actor is amazing. Like he kills this role in multiple scenes. He's just like really going, like swinging for the rafters. When he's after Ginza gets like completely demolished and he's like kneeling in the rubble, screaming, fucking incredible moment. And when he finally shares like his war stories and stuff, and he has another breakdown, it's another fantastic moment. Really, the acting across the board in this is amazing. Even the little girl, the child actor,
Dude,
did a good job too.
That shit was heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, like raise your hand, say it out loud if this movie brought you a little closer to tears than you expected.
Yeah.
It did.
Sure.
Actually, yeah. So there's a couple times I got choked up. One of the ones that wasn't like one of the necessarily maybe the most obvious ones was when the young guy, when they're going to prepare for their mission, they're like walking out the meeting, and the young guy is like, yeah, let's go, we're gonna go, and they're like, you're not coming or whatever, and he's like begging them to like take him with, like, I don't know, it just like that hit me because we spend a good deal with these kind of people, and I love the characters that they present to us and how they kind of come together and how they kind of look out for each other and how they all have their own like certain kind of roles, but they feel like very realistic.
Did it remind you of Jaws at all when they're on the boat?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Some Jaws vibes.
Like that had to, like, that was absolutely a conscious decision. It's such a brilliant like way of like introducing us to this crew as a clique, and showing like how they're kind of forged in fire as being friends, even as things escalate and they could totally go off on different paths entirely. But like they just insert a mini Jaws in there to solidify that bond, and it's fucking brilliant, and it works really, really great because it's also like an action-packed fucking scene. Like you get a lot of action out of that.
Yeah,
that's the
that's
second time encounter with Godzilla, right?
Yes, yeah,
I think
For
so.
for our lead, I mean, yeah.
yeah. That scene was amazing. Yeah, uh, yeah, that's probably like that might be one of the best scenes in any Godzilla movie. That whole sequence with the boat. And something else I liked about this that made that scene work is I think the minus one Godzilla is the smallest Godzilla that's been in a movie other than the original. I think he's barely bigger than that one. And I think that's interesting because you see the trend like over the years, there's like, well, this is the biggest Godzilla ever, and then this is the biggest Godzilla ever, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And the one in the anime movies is like literally the size of a mountain.
The anime
Um,
movies.
yeah, they're terrible. But
Man, there's so many.
it just when you make it smaller, like that sequence where they're on the boat, you could never do that with like like the Godzilla movie and the American movies now, like the legendary Godzilla. It's too big. It would like eat the boat immediately. But because it's so small, you can almost like it feels like more of a threat. It's closer to
Mhm.
the people. You can see them interacting in the same scene, and it makes it more personable when it's he's smaller. Also, it makes sense because the buildings back then were smaller, so it doesn't have
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
But
he's
you
still
can
towering
build-
over them.
That's an
You
interesting
can
point.
build tension that way because
Yeah.
it's not just a foot immediately crushing an entire city and then
Yeah.
it's done. Like
Yeah.
there's some
Like-
play there.
I've argued in the past that these movies should feel like natural disaster movies, and I stand by that mostly. But one thing that this movie proves counter to that is that it actually is nice to have like just a small amount of like visibility of Godzilla as a character. Like he doesn't have to necessarily be just a giant, an unknowable beast stepping on things.
Mhm.
Like there's eye contact made in this. You can see him get mad, but it's not like anthropomorphized. It seems wild, and that still works. And it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It toes a line that I didn't really realize could be walked that well.
Yeah.
I love the
100%.
design with the spines. We've seen a
Me
couple
too,
different
man.
iterations of that, especially with his heat beam and stuff like that recently, and that blue kind of glow. But the way they kind of poked out and raised up or down, whatever, it was just, I don't know. It looked really cool to me.
The
I
toys
like-
sell themselves.
yeah.
I guess that was a reference to another earlier Godzilla, all out monsters or whatever. I forget.
Yeah.
I was reading trivia about it.
Yeah, this the director pulled a lot of inspiration from and I'm not making the title of this up. The full title of the movie is Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Monster. Oh fuck, I'm fucking it up now. All monsters, all out attack. You call it GMK for sure. But he took he took a lot of inspiration for that. The Godzilla in that movie, that one's like a monster beat 'em up too, but it plays those themes of like the trauma from World War II. They don't do as much with it in that one. Like they set it up and then it kind of just evolves into monsters punching each other at the end. But Godzilla in that movie is the reincarnation of all of these spirits of people who Japan committed war crimes against.
Damn.
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ,
yeah.
that's intense.
Yeah,
Brutal.
yeah. Yeah, so he took a lot of inspiration from that. The heat ray in that movie also creates like a mushroom cloud like in this one. And then to skip to the end of the movie where you see Godzilla's heart regrowing at the bottom of the ocean, that ending is the exact same ending, kind of stinger at the end as GMK. So he took a lot of inspiration from that one.
I am gonna say that the lead-ins, the tie-ins for a future installment were the weakest part for me because I feel like this movie is so capably insular that those are just a little bit like not to any real detriment, but it's a little disappointing. There's like, oh, there's a mystery thing on her neck now. Oh, Godzilla's not dead, therefore the sacrifice that he didn't have to make loses a little bit of punch.
Right.
Okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to do anything like equally as good next time. They got to like work to make those things tie into whatever a good idea is to do with those things. Hopefully they have something in mind because
well, the thing is, you don't need that if you in the future decided you wanted to tie into the film. Maybe something on her skin to show like the effects of radiation or something as an implication, but you don't need the beating heart in the ocean or whatever. That's not That's not necessary.
I
So
mean, if
yeah,
it's
I
a
agree.
reference, it's something, but it just like it took something for me from the impact of those few minutes that preceded.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but a little something. That's probably
And
the
then-
weak point of this movie for me.
Didn't bother me much. I do want to like touch on how Godzilla looks and acts a little more, so we're kind of riding that train. I found him to be extremely like menacing and probably more terrifying in this movie than just about any other Godzilla movie I've seen, which is only a handful. It's in the beginning, man, when he just starts like flinging the soldiers, like grabbing them and throwing them through the air. Like I was clutching my pearls, like, God damn, dude, this Godzilla is not fucking around. I just really liked how like ruthless he seemed to be in this movie.
He was much smaller in that first appearance, right? Like when
Yeah,
on
because
the-
they say
Yeah.
he grew.
'Cause it was years
the
prior,
guy
he
says
grew,
he
right?
grew. Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of imply that a Bikini Atoll bombing,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
Warp-
Yeah. Mhm.
The radiation, which
Yeah.
is also the
Okay.
implication when he gets like a mine to the face and he just kind of heals up or whatever.
yeah, I guess that's true.
But I'm gonna be honest. I really like this movie, but one of my kind of biggest critiques, and then later on, I think I did see a post about how much money they had to make this. So fair enough. And it's not a big ding. But since I think Randy brought it up earlier, like some of the look of it just kind of looked the budget, honestly. The eyes specifically kind of bother me. And then when he would be like chilling halfway out of the air and his like chest is like chilling out of the air, that kind of looked goofy to me. Because he's supposed to be small, and I'm like, is he bobbing his tail to keep himself? I don't know. I'm just
Got a
because they're
little
supposed to be in the
propeller
deep
tail
ocean.
going
There's
on.
there's a warship out there, and he's like half out of the water with his nipples hanging out. I mean, he doesn't have nipples, but you
With
know what I'm
his
saying.
nipples.
But
This
he's
isn't-
out, and so those were the biggest things: the eyes and just like some of the body shots just kind of reflected the budget of the CGI to me.
You know,
So, you know.
Would it have made it better if they showed a shot of him kicking his little feet to stay afloat?
Oh yeah, that would have really saved it there.
I
No,
want to
just like
see
keep him
Godzilla's
lower.
nipples now.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
honestly, I didn't like have a problem with most of the CG. I do understand like the character model. I think is cool looking. I
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
look of the
yeah.
eyes. I like all
Yeah.
of that stuff. When he's out of the water, he looks like classic Godzilla. He looks like 54 Godzilla.
Yeah.
The way that he's posed, the like he's obviously a little bit of difference there, but like I respect that they like. It's that same thing that I respect about like The Witch and all the Robert Eggers stuff, where it's like it's taking something that exists that has been like done to death in a million different ways and doing it as seriously and straightforward as possible, but with modern storytelling things going on and modern in-camera capabilities and things like that. Well, just
Mhm.
special effects in general. So like I respect that they're like really going for that, and it is a little bit goofy, but the original was just a little bit goofy if you get right down to it. And the fact that they made this look menacing at all while still adhering to that specific thick boy formula for Godzilla is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Thickzilla. Did the plan that they hatch at the end of the movie to like try and kill him feel like a little belabored or like unwieldy to you guys at all?
I kind of liked it, but
Yeah,
just
I
because
actually
it was
thought, I mean, it was much
different.
simpler than in Shin Godzilla because
yeah.
that was kind of the point of Shin Godzilla
Yeah.
was that they were.
Yeah, didn't they like freeze
Hyper-complicating
his
everything.
blood or something?
I don't remember.
they-
Yes, they did that. Yeah,
They
go
knock
ahead.
him over. Yeah, they knock him over, and then they inject
him
some kind of
full.
yeah.
I think it could have been just a little bit like it's fair to say that somebody could see it that way. I didn't feel like it was too much because it was very cleanly and capably explained without
Mhm.
it feeling unnatural to do so. Somehow it felt like a natural story dump, and I know that's a contradiction almost, or an exposition dump rather. So I don't know, like because it tied in with trying to convince people to join the effort and like that growing momentum. I think that that helped carry me over any hurdles that are like it's not just a montage of explaining how this works. It's like
Yeah.
no, this is how like this is our only shot. This is how it has to happen, and that it immediately falls apart like right at the beginning of their plan is fucking great. Like I don't know, the drama in that fucking climax was top notch in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
How did the plan sit with you, Miles?
I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I mean, I don't understand if the actual science behind it makes any sense, but I mean, it made sense in the universe of the movie. They could have, for what the movie, the themes that it was going for, as far as like, you know, everybody having to come together as a community and everything. I thought it worked pretty good.
Yeah, I just assumed the science was dead nuts because like this guy explained it like I was a 5-year-old, so I get it. I like totally works for sure. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Exactly. To my non-scientist brain, now Miles, as we know, is a scientist. So if
Yeah, oh,
anybody
yes.
was gonna
Yes.
Godzilla science.
let us know it was not going to work, it'd be Miles.
Yeah.
So I think we're in safe territory here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
everything was.
Yeah.
You're talking to somebody who was half convinced the Earth was flat because I watched a couple YouTube videos. But
You know what? They got a good point.
They're really
Dude,
onto something.
it's one of those things
You're
where
a good guy, Miles, but you're going to have to lay off the sauce.
Yeah.
One thing too, one good thing about the period pieces, it works on so many different levels. You know, you're able to kind of work with a lot of themes and social commentaries that were relevant in the past and so relevant now. But honestly, I just love World War II movies because everything looks fucking amazing. The styles look amazing. All the aesthetics, like the design of the plane, the color palette, what people are wearing. Just
the
like
rubble.
yeah, the rubble looks great. But like even
man.
and it's nice to have it in Japan in this too, because I like to see World War II films in Europe, you know, in America and stuff like that, all that aesthetic. But even to have those houses be a part of that, him build this new house, and to kind of see what it looks like. But everything just looks great. The plane, I love the design of the plane, even when they have it open and they're working on it, and just the way that the engine and the mechanics look on it, everything's mechanical. I love when he drives up on his old school fucking motorcycle. It just all looks amazing.
You know what's incredible about that plane in particular? You're talking about like the ultimate end of the movie plane,
Yeah,
right?
the
Not
end
just any
plane, yeah,
necessarily.
mhm.
But yeah, that plane, like it is to my, I don't know a lot about planes, but it looked like it's a little sci-fi'd out, and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like that. It feels perfectly within the bounds of reality of the time period and place and setting of this film. That's incredible on its own. Like,
I think that is a real
just
plane
simultaneously,
design. I think that is like a real plane design. I don't
is it
think
okay? So
yeah,
that would go a long way in explaining it. But like, there's so much fidelity to reality. It seems like to me, like I said, the authenticity or whatever.
yeah.
For something that to my mind is not familiar as being like a real thing, to feel real anyway is pretty
Mhm.
fucking great. Like that's a testament to the set, like to how they cornered this time period so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is dope. I want an airplane like that now, please. Straight chilling jet. Let's
Made
go.
me
Well,
want to get an old
pre-order it.
school. It made me want to get an old school motorcycle. And then also
Yeah.
too, with our friend Nicole posting these pictures of an old movie theater she might buy. I was just like in the zone this weekend of just old school, amazing looking.
Let's talk
thing.
more about Nicole's personal finances.
Ah,
real
yes.
quick.
Okay. Well, see, the problem here.
The escrow.
That's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
gonna bite you in the ass.
Oh, you gotta watch
interest
that
rates
escrow.
these days. Oh my god, let's just talk about it for a while.
Gotta waive those
I
inspections.
mean,
you
she
know?
was posting on public.
I'm breaking balls. I'm just breaking balls. Oh,
You know, I
Yeah.
heard she's having some real serious problems with her husband too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The show is increasingly getting more and more just for people who are on our Slack.
yeah, this is a great advertisement for our Slack right now. Yeah, join up. We'll air your dirty fucking
Yeah.
laundry on
Yeah.
our podcast.
And have you on our show.
It's a drama blog.
Welcome,
Yeah,
Miles.
exactly.
Where are you from again, Miles?
Right.
Miles, you have any drama you want to start right now with the Slack?
Oh yeah, yeah, so much.
All right.
The skeletons, time to drag them out of the closet.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's cut a promo real quick.
Yeah.
You can call out whoever you need to call.
Yeah.
The
I've been wanting to
cream.
I've been wanting to call it Jim G Baby for the longest time, so let's just get it out.
Oh, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Gee, baby.
I'm gonna wax that fucking forehead.
Now we're really
All right.
getting in the weeds.
Yeah. in the
Hey,
weeds,
there's a movie
yeah.
called Godzilla. Let's talk about it.
Sure.
But
Um,
yeah. Go ahead, Miles.
yeah,
oh.
yeah.
Bob, shut up
go.
and let
I'm
Miles
shutting
talk
up. I'm
right
shutting
now.
up.
Bob,
Don't
why are you
open
just
your mouth for the
oppressively
next
just
10
solely
minutes.
speaking?
I'm so
He just-
sorry.
He just mute me. No. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, you were Bob. You're bringing up. I want to circle back around to the acting because you're bringing up the acting and performances, and I thought they were really great. I saw a few people here and there on the internet where they were saying that like they typically don't like Japanese uh, acting. They think it's over the top. But I didn't feel like that in this. I think what that is American cinema has a real problem with sincerity, especially blockbusters, where you can't
Yes.
take anything fucking seriously for a second. Everything, and this is mostly because it's not exclusively a MCU problem, but it definitely started there. I think where there can't be any tension at any moment. Everything has to be undercut with a joke, and everything's ironic. And I think when we see something that's portrayed as sincere, it kind of comes off it comes off as corny. But I didn't get that from this. There was obviously lighthearted moments in the movie. There were some jokes, but it didn't take away the tension. Like Godzilla didn't knock over, step on somebody's car, and they're like, oh, I didn't renew the insurance yet, or whatever the fuck happens in these movies now. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
just
so
happened.
true.
well, even so, to touch on that, I honestly, this is not something I thought about at all. But it just popped in my mind as you were describing that. Also, too, I think possibly a problem with like male vulnerability, because even when you said, kind of like how the MCU cuts these quips and so, stuff like that. And the first thing that popped in my mind was the scene with like Iron Man and Spider-Man when he's like coming back to life or whatever, or he's dead or whatever. And then, there's an emotional scene,
One
but
of those.
immediately it's followed by like, whoa, I did this. I did like some quick talking and some little funny things. Like male vulnerability is like, even if it's present, it's not ever lingered on. It's
Mhm.
not presented in a completely vulnerable state, where this
Right.
man, and that's it's another positive actually I wanted to touch on, aside from the acting, of like, even aside from the cultural things, having a movie that's essentially about survivor's guilt, as somebody who has survived a war or anything, living with PTSD, and the idea of survivor's guilt, watching a whole platoon of like your fellow soldiers get taken out, whether it's by a giant monster, realistically by a bomb, or any guns, whatever. So that idea of
Adrenochrome.
of having a guy break down as a result of his survivor's guilt is not done often. And I didn't think it was over the top. I thought it was
No.
That
it was well acted.
spot on. It's what the movie called for. It's what it was building
Yeah.
to. And the dude
do-
acted his ass
Sorry.
off. If they threw in a quip, it would just, it wouldn't fit the tone of the movie whatsoever. But I mean, like, this movie is about some heavy stuff, and they like force you to sit and ponder these things, which is why the movie's so successful. It's really good. I think, in that
I really
way.
do. I agree that like it doesn't do that, which is a very American. I think I think Juice is really onto something with that, because it extends beyond just like being vulnerable in the way of like talking about your feelings or anything like that, or you can only really do that if you're speaking to a love interest or a mom or something like that, or maybe a brother. Like it has to be very, like, the vulnerability is very contained, and then it's quickly after quipped or whatever. That's happening in a lot in American movies, and I think that's a lot to do, like you say, with like not necessarily just male gender roles in general. Like the feeling that you one thing that is seems true, at least to me, from in Japanese culture, is like this, you want to be a part of something, you want to contribute to the greater cause and things like that, versus our individualism, rugged individualism shit. Both with their pros and cons, obviously, but like there's no like there's like a shame in like bowing your head to your superior and not throwing a spitball at him instead. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
From
I
an
feel like
American standpoint, you
from
mean?
an American standpoint, yes. Like there's like I feel like the general American male might look at that and be like, just think like, oh, well, he's prostrating himself in front of somebody. That's not very manly, and that's another level of what you're talking about. And that's what I immediately thought of, rather than quips or anything else. It's just like, I don't know. This movie stares directly at these problems and it doesn't blink, and that's what makes it powerful. Like if you wink at it, then it loses a lot of that power. And conversely, if you are coming at it from an angle where you like their problems, you just can't like make them line up with your own, it can be a problem too. But this one, like, it really straddles that line. I have seen over the top Japanese acting before. I've seen Houseu. We've all seen Houseu. Like, we know what that looks like.
Over the
That's not what's
top.
happening here.
Nah.
That's just regular old Japan.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a normal film. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think this movie does a great job at balancing the human story with the Godzilla monster bashing a city. Like and that's, I think we've talked about this. I think every time we've reviewed a Godzilla movie, that's like kind of what you need to be able to do to make a successful Godzilla movie, and that's where a lot of the American films really falter. Is the human stories like just not really there at all, or they kind of try to half-ass it and like force some sort of heart in there, but it doesn't. It feels very manufactured in a way that this movie doesn't feel that way at all. It feels like this movie has so much heart in that, like, no American Godzilla movie does. Honestly, it doesn't even come. None of them come close to this. I feel like a lot of times they just don't really try, and I don't know why that is exactly. Because I mean, I know not like every Japanese Godzilla movie is like this one, but I don't know. That's just like what really drives this and the original home and make them so damn successful is the balance, like, walking that tightrope and landing both sides. I think is really the key to success.
Yeah. I think it comes back to that same idea of like the quips or whatever. It all drills back down into like the inability to take Godzilla seriously, the way that we as a culture started anyway, not being able to take the idea of a superhero story seriously or anything that goes. We're so committed to the idea of things need to be realistic, hyper realistic, that it's taken like you have to go a lot of different alleyways in America to like make a movie that seems realistic enough for people to like it, but then can go bombastic in all sorts of different ways. Like, it's a really tough mark to hit, and we're really, for some reason, afraid or unwilling to go into movies where it's not structured the way that we anticipate, where it's not, that's why everything feels samey. It's because we're so committed to these ideas of like, no, that's not realistic. And like, I'm just as bad as that at that as anybody. That's like the cinema sins in all of us. Like, but like, we don't necessarily have to adhere to those things. And I think that's like seeing movies like this that are big budget, like productions from other countries that don't have the same priorities culturally that we do, can be really revealing in that way.
So I would actually like to ask Miles, going off of Randy's point, Miles, why do you think it took so long to make a Godzilla film like this?
Well, again, I think well, and there have been others similar to this. I mean, Shin Godzilla, you could say the Return of Godzilla in 1985 is similar. So there have been Godzilla movies like this, but I think again it is them taking the time and not just pumping out sequel after sequel after sequel. Because I know you guys haven't seen a lot of the Japanese Godzilla movies. I know the ones you've reviewed on here have been like the high notes of the franchise, like the original Shin Godzilla, this, but a lot of those movies fucking suck. Like, they're not, they and it's the same thing every time. They start the franchise or they reboot it. The one comes out, it's really great, and they're like, oh, we got to make another one, pump it out next year. And 6-7 years down the road, it's just diminishing returns. It's just there's no focus on any kind of story or themes. Toho was really bad for a long time, where they would not just pump out sequels, but someone would have like a interesting idea or something that's unique. If you ever go look up all the unmade Godzilla movies that kind of just got floated around over the years, there's some really interesting ideas, and they just kind of always fall back on, well, okay, but can you just let's cut back on some of that interesting stuff. Can you put Mothra in it? And just like, so I think what they're doing now is they're taking these directors and writers who have a vision and have an idea, and they're waiting and not pumping out another sequel, and waiting until somebody has a good idea and taking the time to actually make it. And these are the results. I'm because this movie is being really like critically acclaimed and has made a lot of money. I am very worried that this is going to just start another trend of they're just going to pump out one every single year for the next 10 years
We
until
act like we're new to the horror genre over here. Like this.
yeah,
is
right,
That
yeah,
sounds just like a certain Halloween franchise we've been
yeah,
covering for
yeah.
a while.
Yep, that's
Godzilla
right.
is.
But yeah, we were kind of shitting on like American cinema, but I mean, the Godzilla franchise has been guilty of that for almost its entire, existence.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I think I wish like a lot of American franchises would do this as well, where let's not pump one out immediately. Let's kind of sit on it and wait till somebody has a good idea and make an actual movie where we're not franchise building.
But
Well,
that's the thing, is like
I
the
would
risk
hope-
averse Hollywood like money men, or the closer you are to the release date of the one that just was successful, the more likely it is to be successful for you, because those people
Right.
haven't changed that much and they
Mhm.
still have positive views. They still have afterglow. So like from a business sense perspective, especially when you've got these multi-billion-dollar productions and shit, they're gonna take the safest bet in the world, and it sucks. Cheers,
This movie
260.
was the it's made on the 70th anniversary of the original Godzilla, right? Like
Yeah.
celebrating the 70th anniversary. So like it's got legs, take your
Yeah.
time. No rush.
Just missed 69.
Oh man, they really
Away.
missed
Man.
that. Well,
Roll
I
back the
hope,
clock.
well, I hope with this, I mean, and other things too. We've mentioned other things too. There's two aspects here from this film that I hope some, maybe not necessarily just this film, but some lessons are learned from a success from a film like this. And it's a couple things of one, like we said, Godzilla has been around, and maybe there's a couple people who come into this movie and go, "Where's King Kong? I thought King Kong was going to be in here." But for the most part, people aren't coming to this movie having a problem that there's other entities of Godzilla exist. There's a show right now, there's a whole other franchise going on, and that's okay. I mean, we've seen it, with Batman, and you got a Joker movie that stands over here, and it's just like goes through these things, and like that's okay too. And also in the same way of walls being torn down, Randy kind of touched on it. We touched on it a little bit of of having some movies. Robert Egger comes along and makes a movie that takes a witch seriously, or some, people think like witches are for children, or it's the hocus pocus of it all and stuff. And you make a movie and you're like, oh shit. Or, Godzilla for decades, literally as a man in a rubber suit doing, wackadoo
It's the Pee
shit.
Wee Herman Godzilla for years in America.
Yeah, and so people just expect that's what it's a Godzilla movie. That's what it's got to be. Or even with the success of the franchise that's out now, oh, it's got to be this action packed. It's got to be fighting a giant CGI monkey with a hammer and shit. Like that's what it's got to be. That's what the people want. We got to give the people what they want. And so, I mean, it's just like anytime any kind of movie comes out and it just kind of goes for the lowest common denominator, whether it's entertaining or not, it's always kind of disappointing, because movies like this then do exist. And thank God it's making a lot of money, because it should. I mean, that's what I would want for more franchises, for more characters to exist, because you can make a good movie out of literally anything. And the only reason you don't is because there's bigwigs at the top or people who just think you can't. And so that's always kind of a bummer.
I'm just a little split on that opinion, and it's because on the one hand, yes, I totally agree that like I love that we now have like the cotton candy Godzilla version in America and the full course meal coming out of Toho, and I think that's a beautiful balance to strike for this character who's already kind of like split cognitively in people's brains. It makes perfect sense for a Batman. That makes perfect sense. I still gotta say though that like just to go on the record for this a millionth time, you can have an original character do all the things you're talking about. The thing is that not every franchise is going to be built on somebody iconic like Godzilla or whatever that has the build up to that over decades. And in that time, it's really easy to see it as like disposable trash for many years or whatever. It's just like they're just keep hitting it, but eventually you hit this fucking nexus point where it's like, well, if they're gonna make another one, they could at least get a little weird with it, or like you like
like
and
we
you
saw
sort of
with
submit.
Predator last year,
Right?
Yeah.
Or Halloween
How
Ends
many
even.
how many bad Predator movies do we have to make until somebody says, you know what, we probably could make a good movie out of this Predator if we just thought outside the box for a second,
So yes, it is something that I like. If you're going to be making a Godzilla movie, and God knows they will, this is the way to do it. Offer it like on a platter. Like, you have different subgenres you can enter. You can, if you have an idea, go for it. And also, we have the Mortal Kombat version over here, and that's fine, and everybody's happy. But I also just don't think that endless amounts of money needs to be pumped into one franchise when you could just as easily tell a Mortal Kombat story without any Mortal Kombat people. Like, you can do all that shit. It's totally accessible. You can make a
first we got to
World
get
War
a good
II drama.
Mortal
It's
Kombat
just
movie,
it's just harder because it doesn't have that one thing that puts people's assholes right on the seats and sells the tickets.
My
in the
asshole
seats.
is
The
on
bare
this seat.
hole needs to be in.
I go to a very niche theater.
A nudist theater.
That's why Randy's picture is up at the Alamo. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This man is
They
banned
call me
for
the
life.
Oracle.
So
They
that's
call
where
you the
Nicole's going
orifice.
with her new theater, I see. Okay, all right.
A nude theater. That'll solve her financial
Orifice.
problems and her marital problems for sure. You're
Of which,
welcome.
God, there are so many.
Let's outline them again.
Oh, no, not again.
Oh man, I'm so
I
sorry.
hope she's
Nicole.
listening.
Oh,
Nicole.
goodness gracious.
Nicole's our good friend, and she is going to take this in stride, I really hope.
Yes, we're all just breaking
She's
balls.
cutting ties after this.
That's it.
This was the final straw.
Yeah.
Boys, do you have any final things you want to touch on before we rate Godzilla -1?
I had maybe one more potential. I can save it for my thing. I might warrant some discussion. Quick, let me just pose it.
Okay.
Noriko is not really developed as a character. She's almost a what is it called, woman in the fridge type of situation, which she's not because she doesn't die. But at the very, very beginning, I thought they set her up as a potentially interesting character who, you know, she's this baby's forced upon her, the way that she like deals with her situation that ends up with this guy and then kind of sticks around. Then as time passes, her character didn't necessarily go where I thought it was going to go, which is fine. It doesn't need to go any particular place. I just thought as the time kind of went on, she didn't go along with the development of the rest of the film.
I agree with that. And that's a really fair point. I think that, like, I don't think that she's completely undeveloped by any means. I think you're right that she starts stronger than she ends, because I feel like it seems like she's like a person at first who is coping like everybody. And that's what's so powerful about her adopting this baby and like trying to join up with this guy who can help her, who's clearly interested in keeping babies alive with her. So like, I don't know, like there's something real. All it would take really is a couple of like quick lines where she's like, you know, she's convincing him to open up to her, for example, that scene, and have her be like, look, this is how I grew up. And she counter supposes like, in my house, we weren't allowed to do this, this, and this, and it caused me to be very unlikely. And it somehow it ended up with my parents. That's how they died, is by not listening to me or some shit like that. Like, work something in that gives her a little bit of modus operandi besides survival, just on top of the survival element.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way.
There's hints of it. Like when she got the job at the office in this particular, that was surprising. I thought that was going to kind of pull some little more threads out of her, you know, like, she's got a little more details going on, but it didn't really.
She just vanishes immediately after that.
Well, it just put her in harm's way.
I know it just put her in that space,
chased.
but I thought it was going to.
Is tropey.
Yeah. Solid point. Fair. Minus a star right there. -1. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Star.
Let's rate this thing out of 5. Miles, why don't you kick us off, man? How do you feel about Godzilla -1?
Yeah, so I don't have a whole bunch to add. I love this movie. I loved almost everything about it. It's probably my favorite new movie I've seen this year. I did not like the final 5 minutes of them or so, like the very, very end of the movie when we found out she was alive. I thought that took away a little bit. Like it was a little unbelievable. I don't know what they were setting up with the thing that was growing on her neck with the radiation poisoning. I don't know if that was, maybe that'll pay off if they do follow up with it, but I just thought her being alive was pushing a little into the too cheesy category. But everything else I loved about the movie. I made some notes. I got to most of it. Um, I did write down when Shikishima at the beginning takes his plane to the mechanics to get it fixed. I said, "Oh, I do this at work when I don't want to work, and this is me calling IT." And they're like, "Are you sure there's something wrong with your computer?" I'm like, "No, bro, there's something wrong with my computer. Check it."
No,
And I know I don't. Are you sure you just didn't want to go to work? I'm like, "No. It's messed up. Trust me."
It's
it just
ruined. Fix
needs.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Exactly the
love
same
it.
as a kamikaze pilot. But yeah, yeah, 5 out of 5 for me. Yeah.
Awesome. 5 stars from Miles. Right on, dude. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I like this film, and it definitely shot high up on the list for sure. I'll have to determine exactly where, but it was good. I really, see it in the theater. It was a good theater watch. A lot of positives to go off of. The story was good. I love the time period for just the social commentary, the history, like Randy was saying, learning some things, the styles of the houses and of the city and people getting around and their fashion and the mechanics of it all and just the thought process of the people and people coping with like after the war. All that just worked really well for me. It was super interesting in every aspect. The one I love that they included the one kid who just missed going to the war and having his perspective. I was just a lot of good stuff. I love the time, and we didn't really talk about it, but the time that they spent on the boat was good scenes and good character building, so that later in the film, when the young kid, even though we don't know that much about him, is calling after his friends, I choked up, and it was like had a lot of emotional resonance for me. Yeah, and just the emotional resonance of this makeshift family, of something that he didn't really seek out. I liked that it wasn't like his actual real wife and daughter at first, because of like the guilt that he's carrying around. The exploration of survival's guilt was fantastic. I thought the acting was really good. And really my negatives for this one were CGI. It just couldn't, unfortunately, live up to 100%. For the most part, I'm fine. I like the design, but just I feel like the CGI just couldn't live up to like such the hefty story that this film ended up being. And there's like a little bit where like it kind of took me out a bit of the fear aspect, or of like the believability aspect, unfortunately. And then yeah, some of that ending stuff, I didn't care for the heart. I mean, just to be a sucker or whatever, I get it. I totally see it as a positive. I was so happy for that dude when that chick was alive. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was happy. I don't know, I like that. But the stuff like growing on her neck, and I mean, they did set up a thing about, oh, there's radiation in this area, we can't let people in. So fair enough, but we don't need the heart, and we don't need that stuff. The plan, it didn't really bother me, but there's some aspects of it that's like a little unbelievable. That's fine. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it. And it's just the smaller things, the underdevelopment of Nariko and stuff like that. But I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I liked it. Liked it a lot.
All right. 4.5 from Soju.
Bomb out of 5.
Okay.
How'd you feel about Godzilla? How does it compare to Godzilla 98?
98. Well, I mean, 98 is always going to be at the top of my personal list. It can't be
Okay.
dethroned.
It can't be. There's nothing that can be made.
Can't can't do it. This movie gave me everything that I would want from a Godzilla movie. It had a really fantastic main story with some characters that were written well, and I think were portrayed very well in a way that you're able to really like attach yourselves to them and follow the story. The Godzilla design I thought was really strong. He felt menacing and dangerous, and I really dig that it was like a period piece as well, set right after World War II, and like how just directly it was talking about how Japan was reeling after that, and it just like the way it looked, the filmic look of everything. The crew on the boat was fantastic. I don't know. I don't have many negatives, honestly. I don't know how you would really improve upon this movie too much. I do want to mention again the score was fantastic throughout the entire movie. I was like really kind of blown away by it. It's also like kind of a longer movie, but it never feels long in any way. It's like just over 2 hours, but it kind of breezes
Shorten the
by. Short in the tooth, long in the tooth, whatever. It's got teeth. Exploring the like PTSD and survivor's guilt of a kamikaze pilot that survives World War II is just kind of a fascinating thing, and I think that's just like a really great idea for a Godzilla. And I'm glad they made it, man. I think I'm gonna give it a 5. I think the filmmaker nailed exactly what he was going for, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know how it could really be too much better. There is like one CGI scene that kind of took me out of it. It's where it's like a dream that he has. You guys remember that? It's like a really short dream sequence. Looked a little hokey, but it's a lower budget, and whatever. I'll forgive stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 stars. Ray and Deezy, how do you feel?
Well, I looked back through my previous scores for Godzilla films on our show, and I can't, in good conscience, follow your lead and give it a 5. I don't think, but I am going to give it a 4.5, which matches it with the original. We'll have to figure that whole thing out after the recency bias wears off, I suppose. But yeah, I agree generally with pretty much everything you guys have said. Like everything that's negative that I could bring up about this qualifies as a nitpick for the most part, or a could have been better a little bit. Like minor improvements, very minor, and the rest of it is just like really well-structured storytelling. Like it's a hero's odyssey. There's like denial of the call and all that shit's in there, all that stuff that you expect, which isn't the only way to make a movie, but it is an effective way to make an epic fucking monster movie, that's for sure. Instead of like loading down all the bullshit and like making a point about how it is bullshit, how the systems fail, which is what they did in Shin Godzilla, and is very interesting in its own right. This gets to strip all that away and just make a very, very cinematic Godzilla movie that just hones in on strong characters rather than odd situations that you can read into. So like just the characterizations that are going on with most of these characters, even the small ones have something going on. It seems like you said, it wouldn't be too hard to just completely write out the kid who was not quite a soldier, for example. That he didn't serve a function in the story except to show the camaraderie, the people raising out of the woodworks to help this effort, and that was the point of the movie. So it all worked out really, really well, I think. I think the acting was great. To Justin's point, I do think that Naroki, is that right? Noriko, sorry, Noriko.
Yeah,
Noriko. So she could have been elevated just a little bit. To your point, I agree with that. I also didn't love that I love that she came back, because I was like, this is the kind of movie that needs a mega happy ending. I want the mega happy ending, give it to me. And it fucking did. No casualties in that last run, including the revival of the love interest. Heartwarming shit. I loved that. And then they did the thing where it's like, oh, but she's got a little wart on her neck that's Godzilla looking. Might be some Godzilla.
She's about to get dumped. I don't like you anymore.
Like, is she gonna be like?
Well,
are they gonna write her?
I thought
as
you
like
were dead,
brain?
so I started dating somebody.
I started plowing everybody.
Jesus, but yes, no, I just love all these things about this.
What do you want? Sorry.
Rob's not writing the next one. Yeah, no, I really like this movie. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Room to grow, room to diminish over time. But eventually, I still can't, in good conscience, put it past the original without giving it a little time to simmer. So 4.5.
Cool. That's going to put our aggregate at a 4.75. I did not go back. I'm pretty sure I gave the original a 5, but I did not go back.
I actually don't think I did.
I don't think.
I don't know if any of us did.
I don't think any of you gave it a 5. I think it was
really.
No, it's. Yeah, I gave it a 4.5. You two gave it a 4.
What? Oh my god!
Okay
oh my god!
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, as long as 98 received a 5 from me, I'm fine. So.
What?
We can carry on.
I should have gone back to see what we gave Shin Godzilla, but I still think it's lower. I would say maybe about a 3.5 or something.
I wasn't super hot on Shin Godzilla, honestly.
I don't remember my exact
Yeah, you weren't.
feelings.
You gave it a 2.
Yeah.
you and I gave it a
Good Lord.
3.5.
Okay,
Yeah,
that sounds
which
about
is
I did not
And
like
then,
what they did with Godzilla
our boy
in
Chris
that
gave it a
movie.
5. So
Chris
I did.
definitely
I
liked
think
it.
Chris has given every movie he's been on to cover Godzilla a 5 because when he
No,
was
he-
on for the King of the Monsters or whatever, I'm pretty sure he gave that a 5. He was like, maybe this
He
is
gave
the
it a
best
4.5.
Godzilla. Oh, did he? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
4.5.
Four
Justin
and a half.
Well, my bad.
Misinformation.
out
And
there
then,
just spreading lies.
I guess.
just for the fun of it, let's go to Godzilla 98 and see what our scores were there.
Well, let's go to Godzilla.
5 for
Kong.
Bob, 2s elsewhere.
Yes.
5 for
I am the great equalizer.
I decided that I'm
Really
lonely.
committing to the bit.
Kong versus
like it.
Godzilla. Randy, what do we get that one?
Oh,
That
man.
movie's dog
Which
shit.
one?
Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, Kong. Godzilla versus Kong. Bob 2, you 1.5, me 3.5
That's the lowest one.
8.5.
Wow. We
Holy shit.
You guys shat all over it. I was like, this is.
How about King of
See,
Monsters? Randy, come on, look at us.
I think I gave it the same, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, we've covered quite a bit of Godzilla movies.
No, we have.
That's
We definitely
like
have.
our
Like,
6, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, I
mean,
gave that a
98,
3.
This one.
You guys, you gave it a 3.5. Rob gave it a 2.5. King of Monsters. So, yeah,
Yeah, there you
I
go.
liked it a little bit
Good.
better, and I said that on the episode. I even listened back to the episode. Can you?
Oh my
believe it?
god. Are you okay?
No,
You gonna
No.
be all right?
no, I'll never do it again. I assure you.
Well, we got more shit to do. Let us carry on, gentlemen. Let's get into our Rotten Tomatoes segment to see what the critics and users think about Godzilla Minus One.
Now, I'm going to ask a quick question. Has anybody seen the tomatometer today?
No.
I'm not saying it at all.
I saw it pre-release, so I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure because like I've seen news articles touting the thing right in the fucking title of the news article. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to jump in and stop stalling now. Okay. This is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com from both the critic and user perspective. We're going to start, as we always do, with the critic reviews. There are 75 critic reviews, and I'm going to start with our esteemed guest here. And Miles, out of those 75 reviews, what percentage would you say are positive reviews from the critics?
It's definitely going to be high. I feel like some people might be a little down on it because I think, like I said, I was reading some opinions that it was maybe a little pro military, even though I didn't see that.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say 89.
That's actually an interesting point that like I kind of got the impression it might be a little bit pro-military, but I don't really know culturally like how that's approached overseas.
Mhm.
So it just I didn't feel like I could make that claim competently.
Well, now the only
Yeah,
thing we could, like the thing that saved them was the fact that they hadn't shipped all their decommissioned military equipment off, which is what
Right.
Japan was forced to do following the war, is like demilitarize and
Well, I
You
think
could
it's
say
kind of
you
both.
could.
I think you could argue both because there's
Yeah,
definitely arguments against because they're like, this isn't our government failed us, like to Miles. Your
Yeah,
point
and they
earlier,
didn't
like,
solve
Yeah,
it by blowing it. Well, I guess they did solve it by blowing
I
it
saw
up.
some people flat out call it propaganda, and I was like, I don't think. Whoa.
Look, propaganda comes in all forms. I would love to see a real like a full breakdown of
Yeah,
how you
breakdown
could
of
see that
it.
argument, but I
could
kind of see it
being
as
fun,
flexible.
but I think it's flexible too.
All right, Juice. Let's move on to you. What percentage do you think? What percentage of these critics do you think gave this a positive score?
The
And
only
again,
thing
Miles gave an 89. So
the only thing I was seeing was people like on Letterbox, like rating on their personal Letterbox and stuff. And so it seemed to be getting a lot of positive buzz from it, but 89's quite high. There's got to be some haters. Maybe there's some people out there looking for Kong. I don't know. So we'll throw it up to that, and I'll say 84.
84.
Maybe we have a chance to tie.
We'll find out. Bob, round us out here. What do you think those 75 reviews net out to be for the critics?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Randy said there were like headlines and shit. I'm gonna go buck wild with 100%.
Hundo
Oh,
percentile.
wow. Okay.
Well, Bob, that was very smart of you, although not quite accurate. At one point, I did see some headlines and some people saying it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. You got to check it out. So I was like worried that that might have just been the word on the street already. It's not 100% anymore. It's 97%. So Bob, you're still going to take away that crown.
Nice.
Bob, that's a hell
97%.
ski for Godzilla.
That's a hell ski.
Godzilla appreciates your ski, Bob.
What a weird
right.
sentence to say.
Godzilla appreciates your skeet. Yes. The
Ah,
sacrifice is
yes,
real.
I'm sure he does. Yes, right on those
All right,
nipples,
let's-
you know.
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
We got Batman nipples. Now we got Godzilla nipples. You know what?
Bat
Sure,
That Godzilla and versus Kong is kind of the bat nipples of the Godzilla franchise.
it
isn't it?
is.
It
It's
is.
either that or it's Godzilla 98, but
Well,
No.
nah,
Okay.
oh nah.
I see we're all very, very much very much incapable of facing reality here. 1,000+ verified ratings for the audience. Let's go in reverse order here. Bob, why don't you take us away and tell us what you think those 1,000+ verified ratings net out to be?
I still think it's going to be really high, lower than the critics, I believe. How much lower? I'll take the boys Project 86, please.
Not my
86.
boys.
All right.
Boys.
All right, Juice. Be that meat. Tell me what you want.
Damn, that 97 throws a wrench in my thinking. Fuck it. I want to go high now. I'll
Whoa.
take the 90 deuce.
90 deuce. All right. Miles, round us out. Where do you think that these users are coming in on this?
You've
got your finger on the pulse of this better than anyone. So
yeah, and the pulse of like Godzilla fans, but
Godzilla
the
fans,
general population. I don't know. I'm trying to. A lot of people wouldn't go see this just because it's a foreign film. I might do a repeat. I might do an 89.
89. All right. Well, the correct answer is only 6 small percentage points off. 98%.
Whoa!
From the audience.
Damn.
Juice, you're going to take that one with a hell of a fucking score on both counts here.
That's a hell yeah, boys. Godzilla appreciates my eats.
Right on those nipples.
Yeah.
Lizard.
All right.
Oh, wow.
critics-
That's very impressive.
It's very, very impressive. I was like, I read 100% from the critics. I was like, yeah, I kind of had the same thought you did, Miles. I was like, yeah, but it's still a foreign language film. I just don't. But I guess I failed to take into account that the people who are going to go see this movie probably don't give a shit about that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So
so-
to touch on that, I actually had, so there wasn't a lot of people in my theater. It wasn't like the biggest theater there. You know, it was maybe kind of one of the smaller ones, but there was about, I would say 30% full. And when I was leaving, there was actually like a wide variety of people in there. There was some
Oh, yeah.
kids in there. Like there was
Same.
just like, there's like an older couple that was in there. It's just like just a wide variety
That's why
of
it's
people.
like,
I was like,
it's-
whoa.
it's a very like accessible movie franchise for all ages. A PG-13 movie. It doesn't feel like it belongs to any particular rating system. Even it just kind of feels like a movie. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't really. That's not really pandering for a specific rating, and then there's a reason for that. But yeah, like I totally agree. It's got a really just broad appeal. This movie on pretty much every level, even on levels that Shin Godzilla failed on.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there you go. Our critic consensus reads as follows: with engaging human stories anchoring the action, Godzilla Minus One is one kaiju movie that remains truly compelling between the scenes of mass destruction. Very
Agree.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Well,
Read some funny shit, Randy. You got some dumb stuff.
I'll sure try, but it's slim pickings. There's only 2 negative
Yeah.
reviews with a blurb here, so here they are. I like what Yamazaki was trying to do, but his timidity in themes he might introduce to the film's native Japanese audience shows, and it muzzles his monster movie. Timidity in themes he might introduce. What?
Mm.
I don't know what
Oh,
he's
I
referring
don't
to.
know what-
I guess I have to read that whole review.
I know what all those words mean.
Yeah, like I don't see how they
this
apply,
movie.
but-
Yeah, I don't know.
and it's not funny. God damn it! Here we go. Last one. The superior visuals and sound are at odds with terribly paced story and downright boring characters. It all just feels so underwhelming.
Mm,
I
It's
think
like
we
the
found the cooter of the
opposite
week.
how I feel.
Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah, goddamn.
What? What?
What movie did you watch, man? Like,
Damn.
it's all underwhelming. Man.
Where's Kong? We want Kong.
Kong never came. Zero
Now, this
stars.
Godzilla movie, of all of them, to criticize the character as boring is fucking fascinating to me.
That is insane. Was that review from Bitch Media?
Yeah, that's who it was. No, that's Adam Does Movies on YouTube.
Fuck.
Calling you out.
Oh God.
Adam does movies.
Oh God.
Yep. There you go. That's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Bob, I know it's a
Cool.
new movie. Is there any trivia or?
There's a little bit, yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it.
It's totally time for trivia.
Yeah, there's a few points here. First off, your boy Gareth Edwards, who directed the 2014 American Godzilla film, attended a screening of this film. Edwards described a feeling of jealousy while watching this, stating, "This is what a Godzilla movie should be."
Who said this?
I concur. Gareth Edwards, the director of the 2014 American Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
Now, to be fair, he tried to make like a serious kind of.
He did.
He did,
Godzilla movie,
yeah,
I
too.
liked
he
it
did.
for. I liked
And
it.
yeah,
for
no,
that.
it was pretty.
Like,
no, pretty
It
solid.
was mostly good, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not shitting on him.
No, yeah,
Um,
clearly he's not taking it personal. He's just like
Yeah.
got that professional jealousy. That's honestly
Yeah.
the most flattering thing that another artist can say to you is
Yeah, I
that
wish
they're
I made the
jealous of
movie
your
you
work.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
According to director Yamazaki, his Godzilla includes uniquely Japanese aspects. He goes on to mention there's a concept in Japan called tatarigami, which means spirits that bring calamity. And there are good gods and there are bad gods. Godzilla is considered half monster, but is also half god. Tatarigami, that's a concept I'm not familiar with. Have you guys heard of that at all?
No.
Oh, I'm looking it up.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. There
Maybe
is
it's
like
worth a
I
Google.
know I don't know if it's the same thing or not. Whenever like we go to like the museums and stuff, there are these like 4 deities that are represented for like north, south, east, and west. There's like a one like a white tiger and a black dragon and a blue serpent or something. There's like 4 beings.
Are you
I can't-
watching Legends of the Hidden Temple? or
I'm
what?
not. I'm trying to remember
Red monkey.
best I
The
can.
choice is
Blue
yours.
barracuda.
It's yours.
But that's the only like relevant thing that kind of comes to mind.
That might be a callback to that might be another callback to GMK, because I know in that one Godzilla's supposed to be an evil, like I said, he's a reincarnated spirit. And then he ends up fighting 3 guardian monsters that are supposed to be gods that protect different sections of the country. I guess I think that might be the same thing. Not sure.
Cool. Yeah, maybe.
Man, yeah, I love that there's like a hard tie to Godzilla just being they made Godzilla evil again, and they got the receipts to back that up. I love it.
Hell yeah.
What's next, Bob?
Make Godzilla evil again. The name Shikishima of the protagonist in this movie coincides with the name of a squadron that conducted the first successful kamikaze attack. The Shikishima Squadron is what it was called, led by Lieutenant Yukio Seki, and it hit and sank the USS St. Louis in 1944, apparently.
Yeah. This is like you had mentioned it in your review, Bob, but like it's so true that like it's so brilliant to frame survivor's guilt by a kamikaze pilot who ran, like, because no soldier who's ever survived a battle is more sure that they should be dead than somebody who went in with a suicide mission.
Yeah, it's
So,
really
like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Something I'd heard a while back, I don't know if there's any truth to this whatsoever, but I heard that when they were training these young Japanese soldiers to fly planes to be kamikaze pilots, they didn't even bother telling them how to land the plane, because they wouldn't need the knowledge in theory.
Wouldn't
I
they
don't know
need
how-
it if they were training though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
You got a guy, a
One
beleaguered
would assume.
40-year-old man with a comb over in the back that takes over. in
All
their
right, I'm
driver's
up here.
exam,
How do I
so
get down? Oh, wow, you're on your first
Don't
mission.
worry
Just
about
head
it.
on
just
up
keep
there.
going. Just keep
Put your
going.
hazards on. I'll take it from here.
Your hazards on. Yeah, that's probably bullshit. This movie gets the title -1 from the fact that Japan had already been devastated by World War II, taking it to 0, and then the added devastation of Godzilla brings puts it in the negative.
Interesting.
-1.
That is interesting.
Does
I
that
wasn't sure where that came from.
translate to the Japanese version as well, or does the Japanese sometimes they have different kinds?
I think it's the same, if I'm not
Is
mistaken.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it's oh damn, I had it and I lost it. It is. I would mispronounce it anyways. Where the fuck?
Well,
Yeah,
I just
go-
meant like meaning wise. You don't need like I don't speak Japanese. So I
yeah.
wouldn't understand it. Just and then mean so
Oh,
like for
You
instance.
wouldn't? Come on.
Well, I mean, like, so thirst in Korean actually translates to bat in what the Korean version. I just didn't know if it was translated to Godzilla -1 in that of -1.
Yeah, well, I mean,
In the
even
file.
the poster just literally just has like a -1. It's
Okay.
not even written out in any language. It's just numerical.
I had assumed I never watched the trailer before watching this movie. I assumed that it had something to do with like, okay, so they're doing something in an ice environment, or there's going to be some like I thought it was going to be kind of
Oh.
built around like a frosty scenario, but they didn't really
No,
do that. Unless
That's
you count
Ghostbusters, Randy. That's next
Yeah,
year.
fucking
Thank
You
you.
wait.
Ghostbusters, the big chill or whatever.
Ghostbusters on Ice, right?
Ghostbusters
Oh.
on Ice. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
my
much better
Lord.
title for a fucking comedy movie.
I got a couple more real quick. The announcement of Takashi Yamazaki, oh my goodness, as director created some concerns for fans. Yamazaki's prior war films have been viewed as nationalistic by some, particularly the 2013 film called The Fighter Pilot, which is based on a novel by Naoki Hyakuta, who is apparently a far-right author known for his denial of Japan's war crimes. And then I guess prior to this film, Shin Godzilla had also received a bit of backlash from fans over its perceived nationalistic undertones. I think we touched on that a little bit in our review of Shin Godzilla. I don't think we got too
No,
far
that's
into
interesting because I'd see what I was saying before. I thought it was kind of going the other way. Whereas, I
Mhm.
mean, we've said they've had to like dance around it before, but in this film, there's people saying like, I was ordered by the government to kill myself. That's not what I should have done. And everybody else who survived
At
is
the end,
making
was
the
him
choice. Survive.
deciding
Even
not
the
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
even the pilot who was kind of angry at him for letting everybody die is like, survive, don't die, you know. And they even said like, we can't count on the government. All the people got to do this ourselves. So I didn't, but
Maybe they're
might
a
have-
well-regulated militia.
Yeah, that might have been an assumption based on that fighter pilot movie from 2013, which who knows if that was accurately nationalistic or not. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I didn't really glean that from this movie either. There's a lot of people that show clear distrust in the Japanese government. There's one character who just flat out says, like, you know, Japan's government is in the business of keeping secrets. Like, that's what they do best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't really get that from this movie.
But I will say the captain does he's like shown as being like the skeptic of the government or whatever multiple times, and then but he does have that moment where he's like, "You're gonna follow the direct government's orders now." He's like, "Well, somebody's got to do it. I still don't trust him, but somebody's got to do it." And so it's like, I could see it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last bit here is, this was a $15 million budget, and so far, worldwide, it's grossed a little over $34 million. So it's doing pretty well.
Hell yeah.
Great.
Nice.
Keep
15
on
million.
rolling.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good
it's
for
Look
this.
at that, man. I mean,
surprising. Yeah.
this looks
How much-
way
how many
better
are
than
we-
goddamn Ant-Man in the fucking little universe.
Quadrillaverse,
or
or,
whatever,
yeah.
Quadrillaverse. Yes.
His little verse.
Got you a little
Nice,
verse
man.
there.
He
I
just
see.
got a little
That
tiny
movie
bird.
looked like absolute dog shit. It probably cost 10 times what this movie did.
I'm sure it cost at least that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
absolutely.
that's all the trivia I've got. Let's talk Cooter of the Week. Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type in a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance. Miles, give me the other 4.
We got sexual deviance, looking attire, manipulate, overall patheticness, manipulation. I'm gonna start listing the criteria for the villain on Cinema Villains now.
Just one
Damn it.
left.
What am I missing?
Damn.
Which one did you say?
I said sexual deviance.
Sexual deviance, looking attire, overall patheticness. Goddamn, I'm drawing a blank.
Smug arrogance.
Smug arrogance. There we go.
Ooh.
Been putting everybody on the spot lately.
And I was prepared for it too because I listened to the episode with where you had Matt on, and I was like, "Oh, he's probably gonna ask me too." I was like, "I'm gonna memorize them," and then I was like, "Fuck, nope."
No.
That's how you get people to come back, is you put them on the spot, make them feel real uncomfortable.
I mean, I don't actually listen to the show, so I thought I did okay. Like,
All right,
You did-
hot
you did
shot,
okay,
riddle
yeah.
me this. What are the 5 cooter points?
You think you're a real straight chilling crew? You think you're hard with us?
Show me now.
Damn.
Who is there a cooter in this movie? What do we think, boys? We got any candidates?
I don't know if there are cooters in Japan. I just don't know.
Okay. All right.
What a statement.
Broad brush being used for this one.
But in this film specifically, I don't know. The villain is Godzilla, you know,
Which
and he's just a
yeah.
natural force.
Look in the
just a
tire.
bull-
They don't
Check.
even they reference like the government and stuff like that, but there's
Yeah.
not even a representative who's oppressing them or
Right.
selling them false hope or giving them shitty equipment. I mean, there's nobody like that.
The only person that like comes across as sort of like, that's kind of a fucker is when you first meet the lady, his neighbor or whatever, who like calls him out for like not dying.
Oh
in the
yeah, but then
kamikaze
she's
fandom.
a sweetheart.
But she turns out to be a sweetheart. Yeah. And also
takes care
like,
of the kid.
that helps push the story along in so many
Yeah.
ways. And she had just lost her entire family and kids. So
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, that's not going to cut it for cooterdom. Jesus.
No, I don't think there's anybody
I
That's
didn't see
cooter
in
free.
one.
this movie. That
Yeah.
was kind
Miles-
of another refreshing thing about it is the conflict mostly resolves around Godzilla, which isn't a person. And so a lot of it is pretty positive and not bad things happen, like a war, you know, and people coming back where their families are dead, but the those are positive.
Yes.
But the things that focuses on after it establishes those things is the healing. They make their friendships, you know, they're creating this little family, and all of the conflict comes from Godzilla.
I just
Very
don't
nice.
see anything else. No.
Yeah.
Miles, I just want to give you a shot if there's anybody in here. Who you gonna
No,
carte
no,
blanche?
I did not. I could not find any. I was looking.
I think we're cooter free.
Cooter free.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Way to
Sounds
go,
good.
Japan.
Right on.
Mhm.
Way to go, Japan. All right. Let's get into what we've been watching this week, fellas.
Hey, gang, what you been watching?
Miles, you been watching anything else of note this week?
Yeah. I recently.
could be a better insult because by that time I'd be like,
God. You can cut that out.
Fucking bumps got away from him.
That wasn't even a bump. I just like opened the wrong tab apparently, and it
Dude,
just
sometimes-
I'm waiting for Randy's porn tab to get opened. There's been a couple teases.
one of these days, man.
I was like, I don't recognize that bump, but
It's gonna be a slip.
um,
I'm just gonna put porn sound effects in from now on.
you
Please.
should- yeah, please. Yeah, I've been watching some other stuff this week. I don't know why I just got a itch in my ass to go back and watch the entire James Bond franchise, but I started doing that this week. I'm 4 deep. I got to Thunderball. A lot of these I haven't seen since I was a kid. I think I've only seen half of the James Bond movies, like overall. But they're really good. They've been getting progressively better. every entry except for Thunderball is a step down from the first three. That one's kind of boring, but yeah, no, they're really fun. Interesting to see how early the franchise like gets its stride, because all the kind of cliches and things James Bond is well known for, they're pretty, front and present, right, almost right out of the gate. What else have I been watching? Watched a movie called, I rewatched The Mist because you guys reviewed it. Watched it with commentary this time. I just got it on 4K, that new set they released. Still good, still awesome. Watched The Avenging Eagle, which is a Shaw Brothers kung fu movie from 1978. Very good. Probably one of the best Shaw Brothers movies. And then only other thing I've been watching, I'm not even halfway through. I've been slowly watching it, but the YouTube channel In Praise of Shadows, it's a horror YouTube channel. He released what is it, 4 hours and 40-minute review of the entire Courage the Cowardly Dog franchise, where he reviews every episode.
Wow.
So I've been watching that in the background when I'm like, doing shit where I don't need to pay attention to the TV. But yeah, that's been fun.
That's where our
like
mini casts are headed,
Good Lord, dude. That's a lot of work.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I like his
a beefy
stuff.
boy. He's really good. Yeah, I like his stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But
Sweet
that's about
deal.
it.
Nice, man. Randy, what you been watching?
Well, let's see. This week,
Well, sir.
Beck and I won tickets to go see the National Tree Lighting at the Ellipse and outside the White House, and that was very fun. It was very fun to be in the standing section and then have people jockeying for position and pushing and shoving to try and get in once they open the gates to other people, and then the tree lit up like 10 minutes later, and then probably 75% of the people that pushed me left immediately. Very interesting time. But it was fun. We had a good time otherwise. Dionne Warwick performed, other people I don't know. It was cool. Joe was there, my boy Joe, not my boy. Let's see. I also, in the terms
Randy,
of media,
quickly.
I want to make that perfectly
clear.
Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I did watch the entirety of that, and I enjoyed it. Like, it's a very different take on that show, but it still definitely keeps its cadence with the original show, that property, that in particular the Edgar Wright film. It takes it in a completely different direction than you expect, which is counter to how they advertised it, and I always love that, a little bait and switch in the right direction. I enjoyed it. It's not the greatest thing on earth, but it was fun. I finally saw Pontypool. I enjoyed it. I'm still kind of like pondering on it, but I liked it. It was not what I thought it was. For some reason, I thought that was a foreign language film of some kind. I have no idea why I got that impression.
Canadian.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
foreign.
They spoke Canadian the whole time.
They did.
I finally got to see A Murder in Venice, and I had a lot of fun with that as well. That's like the ideal setting for a whodunit detective story for me. Obviously, I just love the horror aesthetic. Yeah, it's great. It's pretty great for me.
Right? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, it's called A Haunting.
Okay, A Haunting. I was like, wait, that's.
Did I write the wrong thing?
Off.
I wrote the wrong
you
thing.
You said murder, and I was like, it sounds close, but.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking this. I was like, I don't think that's quite it, but I don't know what's wrong.
It could have easily been that.
All right.
And then finally, in the vein of YouTube bullshit as well, I posted this on our Slack channel as well. There's another 4.5-hour video that I recommend from H Bomber Guy. It's about plagiarism, specifically YouTube plagiarism, but it kind of like speaks to the broader idea of creators and like sort of like bigger creators stealing from smaller ones, bigger artists stealing from smaller ones. But it primarily deals with like, upstart people that are just putting their stuff out into the world in the form of YouTube videos or podcasts or whatever else. That's where it really fixates. And I think it's really fucking interesting. It's long as shit, and it's a little bit of a drama video, but set aside some of that drama stuff, and I think there's some like really fucking smart and interesting points to be made about why plagiarism is bad and what it looks like and what to do about it to some degree. It's pretty good. That's it for me.
Sweet deal. Some long ass videos you boys are watching.
I know.
Juice. You've been watching some short shit,
Just regular.
regular shit.
Yeah.
Just been watching regular.
I watched another Christmas horror film called The Day of the Beast. This is from the 90s and pretty solid. I probably would have made my list had I watched it before I put that up. But I didn't. So maybe next year or something. But yeah, it was good. It was an interesting film about a priest who needs to start committing sins for an undisclosed reason. So I won't like spoil it or anything, but it was solid. It's a Spanish language film. But yeah, I liked it. I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, but another Christmas horror film that did make the list was The Wolf of Snow Hollow, which was surprisingly good. It's a kind of werewolf murder mystery in a sleepy small town during Christmas. It was good, but it's also kind of like this dark, kind of like a black comedy character study on this kind of tragic kind of character who's real goofy sometimes, but also kind of fucked up. But yeah, it was good. I liked that one a lot, actually. I watched Tokyo Godfathers, which is not a horror film, but a Japanese animation that's kind of like a dark Christmas tale. Essentially these three homeless people who kind of like have come together as this kind of pseudo family find this abandoned baby in the trash, and then they seek out to like maybe return it to its parents, maybe, or like try to find out where it came from. It's dark but funny and really heartwarming, and just a different kind of Christmas movie that I thought was really well done. So I like that one a lot as well.
The same director as Perfect Blue and Paprika.
Okay, I was thinking
Cool.
I was gonna mention like, oh, it's kind of similar to Perfect Blue was the one that came to mind. Paprika's so wild, but okay, yeah. So yeah, damn, that director makes some good shit then. And also we didn't mention it, but there were some scenes in this film, Godzilla, that were set in December. So sneaky Christmas, I guess.
Christmas movie.
A snowflake was in this film, therefore.
Christmas.
I watched Harry Potter 4 because I've been kind of going through the Harry Potters through the day. My dad or my parents like them, so sometimes I'll throw them on when we're all just hanging out in the living room. Harry Potter 4, that one, I love the book so much. I think it covers up that actually there's a lot of problems with number 4. A lot of people like just hate number 4 as a movie. I actually think there's some good things about it, but this time around I was kind of looking more closely. I was like, yeah, okay, that might be one of the lower ones, but I still kind of have like a soft spot in my heart for it. So yeah, what are you gonna do? And then I think I started it earlier, maybe like 2 months ago, but I finally just watched it again, completely to its finish. No One Will Save You, because I'm trying to, get up on my horror movies for before our list at the end of the year. And so, yeah, that one was solid. A good old fashioned kind of, aliens coming into town movie.
Coming right on in.
The aliens are coming to town.
But yeah, the flying saucers and everything, the grays, you don't get a lot of those anymore. But I will say though, I never get these things when they come up. I don't remember if it came up in our 400th, like where people asking questions on the spot. I'm terrible at those things. But one of the things that like really kind of scares me, I'm not really scared of being possessed by a demon or anything like that. But every now and then I'll kind of get wigged out by the idea of like aliens. They kind of freak me out. The idea of aliens kind of freak me out. So yeah, it was
coming for your beehole juice.
It might be. So I try to
find
keep
out as much as they can about your cavities.
When I was single, I was hoping I would get abducted just to get a little action. I was like,
whoa,
aliens coming.
Well, changed my
We're
mind
hunting
then.
for dick. Take me now, aliens.
I'm so lonely. But yeah, so that's all I've been watching. That one's pretty solid though. I like that one pretty good. Who's left? Bob? What you been
I'm
watching?
left. Could you imagine aliens traveling like clear across the universe, and just the
Just to
first thing it is
sexually
like, I
please
gotta
us?
get in that ass now. I
Maybe.
came all this way and I'm real horny.
Came here to do the hunka chunka.
The hunka chunka. Yeah, I've been watching some stuff. I checked out Birth Rebirth, which is a newer movie on Shudder, and it was solid. I enjoyed it. It's a bummer of a movie. It's about this woman who she's got a young daughter who passes away, and she goes to the morgue to look at her daughter one last time and collect her effects and things like that, and they can't find the body. It's missing. And she is super not stoked about that, obviously. And she, well, I don't know. Maybe I should just leave it at that. I don't want to spoil too much. It's sort of like a Frankenstein-y kind of story. I recommend checking it out, but it is a bummer, so keep that in mind. And when I was watching it, I just kept thinking of you, Juice, because like there's a lot of blood in the movie. I was like, this is some trigger warning stuff for Justin right here, but you've already seen it.
I'd seen it.
Pretty solid new release. I watched the, I'm sure, soon to be Christmas classic, The Mean One. Are you guys familiar with this?
Oh yeah,
that
did
the
that come
Grinch
out
film?
last year?
Yeah, I think
or
it was
this
last
year.
year.
Okay.
I think it was last. Yeah, it's the Grinch horror movie, similar to like the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. They just like made it real violent. The David Howard Thornton, the guy that plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies, plays the Grinch in this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's easily the best part of it.
Again.
Yeah, his like mannerisms and stuff are like very Grinch-like, and he's like similar to the cartoon. He's like kind of mimicking the cartoon in a way. But the movie's fucking awesome. It's really quite bad.
I was like, even if it's maybe a 1 star.
No, don't watch it. It's really bad. It's extremely low budget, and the acting is terrible. The kills are like, the ideas are cool, but they don't have the money or the talent or probably even the time to like really pull them off and make them look good. So they just look terrible. It's not good.
The
ideas
tonight.
The ideas
we
there.
just need a
like,
remake. Come on, somebody needs to pump some money into this thing.
Just do it again. Just do it again.
Do it again.
That was a
Come on.
tough movie to get through. To be
Evil
honest.
Dead this thing. Come on. We need it. The Mean One.
Do it up. Rewatch Krampus because it's that time of the year and that movie still fucks. It's great. It's just a annual watch. It's a fun ass movie. If you haven't seen Krampus yet, do it. Treat yourself.
I love that opening scene.
Oh yeah.
It's very good. Very, very good. Lastly, I watched the classic comedy Hot Tub Time Machine.
Whoa, with Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase is in that movie, and it's pretty funny, man. I don't think I'd seen it since it came out. I just like, since it's wintertime, I've just been jonesing to watch these like ski resort type movies, like Better Off Dead and
Just
Out
live
Cold.
vicariously through them since you're chilling in Florida where it's
In fucking
muggish.
Florida.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a genre that I just never like. Neither of the movies you just mentioned are movies that I saw before like college, if that. I just don't know the ski resort tropes.
Yeah, there's a bunch from the 80s. The one that I grew up watching was Better Off Dead. I fucking love that movie. I just wanted to watch shit like that because we just went to like a small ski town, and I was just like, I want to see that kind of shit. So, Hot Tub Time Machine is a super dumb fucking movie, but it had me laughing like pretty consistently, and the cast is fucking great. Craig Robinson is in it. There's some other folks that I'm just blanking on.
Fucking John Cusack, right?
John Cusack and
Rob Riggle? No, not Rob.
yeah, just if you got it pulled up, you can just read them off. That's fine.
I don't, but I can.
Oh, okay. I know it's
Rob
Lizzie
Corddry
Kaplan, Lizzie
and Clark
Kaplan's in it.
Duke.
That's what I was blanking on.
Oh, Kaplan's in it.
Yeah. Anyway, the cast is great. The movie's pretty funny. Check it out if you want to watch a really stupid ass comedy about a hot tub time machine. That's pretty much all I've been watching this week. We don't have any voicemails this week, but if you guys are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail for next week, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out for next week's show?
Just kind of want to know what people think about this new Godzilla, honestly. Call in with your Godzilla takes.
Yeah. We're covering 7 next week, right, Bob?
Yeah, 7.
So we could ask that which of the 7 deadly sins do you think they'd get you with? Which one?
Which one do you think that the 3 of us are guilty of?
Yeah.
Being
Take
too
a while.
sexy. That's the one.
Call in and tell us how many nipples you think Godzilla has. Is it like
Yeah,
2?
what do you
Is it
think
like a
about
dog?
those
Is it like
Godzilla?
6 type of?
It's like
Does he have like
8
an udder?
nips. Yeah.
Could you milk
If
a
he doesn't-
Godzilla?
If the heat ray doesn't come out the mouth, it comes out the nips, and it's just kind of scattershot, you know?
How many nipples do you want to see in your Godzilla porn?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the magic. Out here in Amish. Big old dog. Randy, I've been saying that for weeks. I just can't stop.
I spent over the course of Rob's wedding weekend, he said big old doinks to me, just me, at least 36 times. That's not an exaggeration.
Out of here in Amish smoking big old doinks. Yeah, call in.
Call in. I do like
Let
the
us-
idea of labeling
let us
the
know.
Straight Chilling crew. Let us know.
Oh yeah, what
But
seven
also
deadly
yourself.
sin?
If you call in
All right,
fresh,
you're
you gotta
John
give your-
Doe. We are fresh victims. What are you doing to us?
How are we gonna die? Let us know. Cool. Yeah, 904-638-3231. Like we already mentioned, we're talking about Seven from 1995 next week. It is another Patreon pick. It was chosen by your boy Alex K. Definitely check out Seven if you haven't seen that one already. Get ready for next week's show. Miles, again, big thanks for sitting in with us, dude. It was awesome having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Talking all things Godzilla. Awesome, dude. That's going to do it for us here at Straight Chilling. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
And now you can put them in a cool Godzilla cup holder.